Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you guys can join me on this one. Today we're going to continue work on a 2008 Ford Mustang. We're going to replace the master cylinder in this car. I have a condition that's I refer to as being a spongy brake pedal. So there could be several factors to actually determine what is going on with your brake system. So before you go through this procedure, you want to check if you have any leaks of any kind. So if you're missing fluid from your reservoir and you're constantly refilling it, that means you have a leak somewhere. So for instance, you may want to check all your calipers, front and back. Make sure there's no leaks. Make sure there's no leaks coming from the boots of your calipers as well. So check that first. Second thing you'll check is your ABS module. You want to check for leaks there. ABS module is actually right here. So you can see it right here. Here's your module. Make sure there's no leaks there. And of course we're here on the driver's side. Forgot to mention that. So those are the first things you want to check. Another thing that you want to check too before doing this procedure, the cheapest route to go is get your brakes bled. You want to make sure that there's no air in your brake lines anywhere. So that's a pretty cost-effective way to make sure to just go ahead and bleed your brakes out, and making sure that that stuff is all up to par, and then test it from there and see if you still have that condition. So I've gone through all those factors already. I checked for leaks. I have bled the brakes, and I still have the same condition. So what it's telling me now is the master cylinder has an internal leak. And I'm not talking about the leak that goes into your brake booster. I'm just talking the internal leak here. And I'll show you here with the new part when I'm talking about. There's seals inside the master cylinder that help keep pressure. And so mine has a small leak, so I'm not getting the right amount of pressure on my brakes that I possibly want. So the next thing you want to do is we're going to replace the master cylinder, but do yourself a favor, is when you buy one at the auto parts store or wherever you get it, make sure that's 100% new. I never had any good results on the remanufactured unit, so it's not worth it to me. So this is the master cylinder I decided to go with. This one you can pick up at O'Reilly's. You see the part number there. It's 100% new, and what's awesome with this kit, it comes with everything you possibly need to get the job done, basically, except for the tools. This comes in just slightly under $100, and it's well worth it. So I'll show you what it comes with here. It comes sealed in like this. It comes with the whole assembly with the reservoir, but it also gives you your bleeding kit, the little nozzles and your hoses that we're going to perform a bench bleed on this. So it comes everything all together. So this was the best option that I could possibly find. So just to let you know. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get set up here, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to remove first, and then get this old unit removed and get this one filled up and bled and installed. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here on this side and kind of show you what we're going to disconnect first. Let's get some light on here. You got your electrical connector here, and we'll undo this first, and then we're going to go to the two hoses here. This one here and this one right here. We're going to loosen these up first. That's the very first thing I do. And then we'll remove the unit. There's a nut on this side here and another one on the other side. Let me see if I can get you over there. Get some light. Yeah, you see it right there. So you see that guy right there. So it's just those two. And everything is a 13 millimeter, so this makes it a whole lot easier for us. So I guess the first thing I'm going to do is get some rags. And I'm going to put some rags right underneath these lines here, because as we know, we do not get brake fluid on paint because it destroys paint. So I think those rags are good there. Just kind of stuff it down there. If you do make a mess, just wash it down with water. Soap and water will do it. Just do it right away. Don't leave it overnight. And of course, I'm protecting my fender here with a mat, so that should help here. Alright, so let's get to it. Let's see if we can disconnect the sensor nice and easily. There we go. And I'm just going to move this sensor to the side here. I'll tuck it down this way. Just going to tuck it out of the way here. The reason I'm being, I just wanted to be in the way. I guess one quick tip, if you guys got big hands or whatever, I'm able to fit just fine in here. So there's a little bit of room here. But if you don't, you can unbolt your accumulator here. It's just 2 bolts. One bolt here, one bolt down there. They're 8mm, and I have mine loose just in case. But you're able to move this around a little bit just to kind of give you a little bit more access if you need it. Just keep in mind there's heavy-duty rubber hoses that actually connect those, so it gives you a little bit of flex. So that's nice. You don't have to actually disassemble everything and recharge or uncharge your AC system. So that's kind of cool. So it gives you quite a bit of room to mess with, just in case you need it. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and remove those 2 there. Keep in mind, if you see this one right here has an extension. Right here, there's an extension, but we're going to remove it from here because it's a little bit easier to put this extension piece. Well, actually, we're going to transfer it to the new one. It's a little bit easier. You got more access when it's outside the car, so we can just disconnect it from this part here first, and then that one was just like that one by itself. So these are 13s. And I'm going to use a flare wrench on these. Alright, so we're just going to crack these loose. Like I said, it's a 13mm. And it helps to have these open flares. You don't have to use them, but it makes the job a whole lot easier. These things shouldn't be very tight either. I believe the spec on these, when you tighten these down, is like 12 foot-pounds. It's just hand tight, basically. So I'm going to start with this first one here. I know you're not going to be able to probably see that back one. I apologize, but there's no way I can get the camera in my hand in the same spot. There we go. That one's cracked. That wasn't too bad. Alright, let's see if I can get this backside real quick. If I can get a hold of it. Oh yeah, it's fine. Let me see if I can get it by hand now. Not quite yet. So I know it's a slow process, unfortunately, to get these off. You just gotta do it really slowly sometimes to get all the way off until you can get it by your hand. At this point, once you loosen it, I see some dripping already happening from brake fluids, which is okay. It's expected. Now I should be able to disconnect it all, but with my hand here. Alright, I was going to show you what I did is I switched over to an open face. It's a little bit easier once they're loose, and less tedious to actually get these off. So Alright, so what I'm going to do is we got those lines loose. I'm just going to get a rag and I'm just going to put them in front of these hoses. Hopefully it acts a little bit as a plug, but just to absorb anything that's going to spill over. It shouldn't be much, but just protect and be clean. Alright, so the next thing to do is remove the 2 nuts of the master cylinder from the brake booster. It's a 13 millimeter. I'm using just a simple Craftsman 3/8. It should be enough room or clearance to fit in here. So I have the long socket, and then of course your ratchet's, you know, it's fairly short. So these shouldn't be tight either. Yeah, it's not tight. These are pretty much hand tight as well. I believe the spec on these is 18 foot-pounds. That's not too bad. Like I said, it's going to be tedious again. We're in a small spot here, so small steps. The other side's a little bit better. Alright, so there's that side. Now we go to this other side. This one's the same, it's not bad. Alright, that wasn't too bad. Alright, let's see if we have enough room to remove this master cylinder out. I'm going to slip it out, see how much room we got first. And right now you can tell the AC lines are in the way. So what we want to do is we're going to lift up the accumulator slightly like so. I'm going to slide it out. Make sure my brake lines, there we go. Out and all the way, just like this. Master cylinder removed. I did a full inspection of it first, make sure there's no leaking. You want to check if you have a leak in your back seal here. In this case I don't, so which is good. So nothing was leaking into our brake booster there. Another thing to look out for, you see how it's hollow and open here. There is a pin inside the brake booster right in the middle that is going to go right through here. So, okay, so that's to keep in mind. So now it's a matter, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the bench where I have the new one on the vise. We're going to remove, I'm going to go ahead and remove this piece here as your extension and transfer it over to our new piece. Alright, so we're over here on my mobile vise, and what I forgot to mention when I removed the existing master cylinder is not to forget the back seal. So the new kit doesn't come with a new seal. It just adds like a gasket, kind of like a little bit of a buffer between the master cylinder and the brake booster basically, but it slips up here in the back side. So I'm going to do that before I forget. It's going to go over this larger lip here. And there's just a small indentation in the master cylinder and here in the back side, so it's not a big deal. Next thing I got to do is install this extension that I removed off camera. Believe it or not, this is a 15 millimeter, and I'm going to just use just a socket to get it on here. But it's easier to do this outside the car than it is do inside the car, basically, or on the car. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first. So it's a 15 millimeter. That's good there. It's pretty much hand tight anyway. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and remove this plug too. If I can get my fingers around it. Here we go. Alright, so on the kit they give you these threaded nipples here. Gonna put these on there first. They don't have to be tight, okay? Just you don't have to get a tool and tighten these down, just where it just meets up. See if I can get this one threaded on correctly. There we go. Alright. That's it. Just any part there where it's easy to get off later. Alright, so now I'm going to do, it's going to go and fill up the reservoir just where this line meets here. It's pretty much the minimal line, but I'm going to just, it's a good marker. So I'm going to fill that all the way up to that part right there. With brake fluid, I'm using .3. There we go. I should get some leaking coming out of this one here. So it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and get the hoses that they supply with. Go ahead and run that hose on there. Bring it back around and put it back in the reservoir. Just like that. And then I'll get the backside one started here too. There we go. It looks like fluid's already going through, so which is great. So what I want to do is go ahead and let the fluid kind of build up in there for a second. If you want to give it a few seconds or minutes or whatever, go ahead and do that. So the whole idea with this bench bleeding is we're going to bench it outside the car, of course. It's on the bench. Mine happens to be mobile. So it's just really cool. I can take it wherever I need to. But anyway, I'm going to make sure that these things are submerged in there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to pump this up. So you should be able to do this by hand. And you're going to pump it slowly around. And the whole idea is we want to get all the air inside the cylinder out. So I'm going to give it a chance to kind of get some of this air out first. Like I said, I'm going to take my time on this. Just gotta do it slowly. Now I'm gonna do some of that fluid already went down. I'm going to fill it back up to that mark. There we go. Alright, so I'm just going to keep on pressing it in and then it out. You see this backside is bleeding really well. I don't know if the camera picks it up. We've got some bubbles coming up. So that air is escaping. We're going to just keep on doing it until we get no more bubbles in the system. What I'll do is I'll rotate it slightly up this way. Give it a better angle for the air to escape. I'm just going to hold it for a second, make sure some of these bubbles come out. So what I got going now is I'm getting to the point where I'm getting little tiny bubbles. That means I'm aerating the fluid a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and just let it sit for a little bit. And then when I'm going to come back is I'm going to just slow press it and hold it for a while, making sure everything kind of clears through. So sometimes when you get this aeration, small bubbles like this, just leave it alone for a little bit and just come back to it 5 minutes later. And a lot of these bubbles will kind of clear out and settle down. Alright, so it's been some time past now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just slowly press it in. And I'm going to make sure that all the air is out of it. This slow press will tell me if there's anything in it. And right now, I'm getting 0 bubbles. 0 bubbles coming through. Alright, so now it tells me that this system is fully bled. There's no more air coming out of these lines at all. Letting it settle by itself for about 5 minutes helped quite a bit. So now all we got to do is we're going to remove it off the vise and install it back into the car. Alright, so before I install the new unit, you want to note right in here that there you can see that pin back there. I'm hoping it comes out on camera, by the way. You see that little pin? We're going to have to center this guy right on there. So just keep that in mind when we put the when we slide it on here to make sure it goes in square basically, and it'll rest right on that pin. It won't go in if the pin doesn't line up anyway, but just to let you know before we get this put back in. And then keep in mind how we took it apart. We can move the accumulator a little bit to give us a little bit of room to line up our master cylinder. Alright, so I kept it the same that we had on the bench, and I included just a towel here on top, just in case I have to you know, turn it a little bit in there first. I don't get no spillage. And just like that, it's that simple. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the nuts first. I'm just going to barely put them on just so it secures this in place. I'm not going to tighten this down. We need that extra clearance once we put our 2 hoses on to have a little bit of wiggle room to get those things on. So it's just going to be real loose, not tight yet. That should give us enough play to get started here. So get this one on too. There we go. So you're going to have plenty of wiggle room to go ahead and get those 2 lines on. Alright, I think I got you guys positioned in a pretty good spot here. The next thing we're going to do is going to remove these bleed tubes. I'm going to do one at a time. And then we're going to reconnect the hoses back on here. Make sure that your hoses are nice and clean and they spin freely. So if they don't spin freely, maybe you got some rust, or you need to put a little bit of grease on here so it makes it nice and so it spins nicely, because it does get a little bit difficult to get on at this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I think I already unlatched that line, unfortunately, so I'm making a mess. So like I said, it's tight down here, unfortunately, but let's see if I can get this off. That's why I said you need a rag down there and some gloves for sure. So there's one piece here. I'll just put this on the side. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get our hose and line it up inside. This is where that flexibility comes into play. And you should be able to screw this on by hand. If it's too hard to screw on, you're going to have to just reposition your hose should go on freely. If it doesn't, that means you might you run the risk of cross-threading. So alright, I'm not going to tighten it all the way. There's a reason for that, and we're going to do a little extra bleed after we're done connecting both of these. What we're going to do is a pedal bleed. Fairly simple procedure. If you have a buddy or somebody in your house that can help you out doing that, perfect. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to press the brake pedal 3 times, and then after the 3rd time we're going to let it we're going to hold it down on the ground. Well, it's not going to go all the way to the ground, matter of fact. We're going to hold it down, and then we're going to come out here and loosen one of these lines up and let the remaining air come out, basically. So fluid is going to come out, and that's the whole point. It's just to remove that little amount of air that we let in while installing this. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the nuts to the master cylinder to the brake booster here. So let me see if I can get this down so it saves me a little bit of wrench time here. Get down as far as I can with my little fingers. Alright, that's as far as I can go. Get my wrench in here real quick. You can see how tight this area is, but it's doable. I'll speed this up so I don't kill you. Alright, so I'm going to finish up this one. If you need that torque spec, it's 18 foot-pounds or hand tight. So I'm very close to it. Let's get a little bit of, tighten it down a little bit here. If I can reach it. I feel like I can get a little bit more leverage this way. And I think we're good there. Yeah, we're good. Hand tight. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tighten down this one, but not all the way. Just snug. Just snug enough, because what I'm going to do is I don't want no fluid to escape it, so it's just going to be slightly snug. And then this one, this front one, I'm going to loosen it slow, barely. So just a little bit loose. Doesn't have to be all the way, just I'm going to make it loose. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that brake bleed that we talked about. So this thing should leak once I press the brakes, and that's the whole purpose. So we just want to get that small amount of air that we introduced right here just when we installed this. So you may be, I'm not sure if the camera's going to capture or not, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a shop towel right here just in case it squirts out in this direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the car and I'm going to press the brake about 3 times lightly, just slightly down. Don't go hammer it, is what I'm trying to tell you. So just nice and light, and then on that third one, hold it for a little bit and then let off, and then it should get all the air off that line and have fluid flowing. It'll be nothing but fluid and no air. So I'm going to go ahead and go in the car and do that real quick while you watch that line for me. Alright, I don't know if the camera picks it up or not, but I see some air coming around the fitting here on this side here. Let me see if I can get some light in there. You can, not sure the camera picks it up. I apologize, but there was some air coming out of the fitting, and that is exactly why I want it to happen here. I'll show you where you'll see that air come out. You'll see it right here on top. Right here on top of that fitting, that air will be coming out. So what I'm going to do now is go ahead and close down that fitting. I'm going to tighten it down. It's hand tight again. It's about 8 to 12 foot-pounds is what this would be. Not sure you can actually get the torque on there like exact, but it's going to be hand tight until you're not, I mean, just don't kill it on there. It's just going to be hand tight. So I'm going to tighten this down about there. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and move all to the back one now. I'm going to clean everything off. We're going to inspect everything at the end and test it. I guess before doing that, I'm going to go ahead and refill this reservoir up to the correct mark. Yeah, I'm good there. All right. All right, so now I'm going to do the back side. I think I'm running out of battery in my, yeah, I'm running out of battery there. So on this back side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to loosen this up ever so slightly. Like I said, it doesn't have to be much. So loosen that guy up. You might actually start to get a drip. So just that's what you want. Get a slight drip there. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing. Go in the car, pump it 3 times, hold it down on the 3rd time just a short while, and then we'll come back here and see what results we get. All right, and I can see, and you're not going to be able to see this, unfortunately. I see some air kind of fizzling out there in the top, and now it's stopped. So now we're good. You can actually do this multiple times if needed. I'm going to try it here just on the first try and see how that holds. I'm going to go ahead and test these brakes on the road and making sure that everything holds or feels the way it should feel, in other words, and go from there. So you can do that multiple times if needed. Chances are the air is out. What I'm going to do is go and tighten this one down. We're done here. good there. Alright, so we got everything nice and tight. I'll go ahead and put my new cap on here. And then go ahead and pull those towels out, because what we're going to do now is we need to clean off this area here. So I'm just going to get some brake clean. I'm going to spray down all the areas here that we got brake fluid on. The reason I'm doing that is it cleans up the fluid real quick, and it evaporates real fast. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go inside the car, I'm going to pump the brakes a few times, and then come back here and check for leaks. Okay, so I pumped those about a dozen times. I'm going to come down here and inspect everything. And what I'm seeing is we're completely dry, which is where we want to be. There is no leaks. The pedal feels very stiff now, by the way, which is what I was looking for. Get rid of that spongy feel. Everything looks good. So before you go for a test drive, make sure that when you press that pedal, it's stiff and it doesn't go all the way down to the floor. If that pedal goes to the floor, that means you have a leak. So you need to stop and check all your work. So that's pretty much it. Alright, so the very last thing we're going to do here is don't forget your sensor. I'm going to plug that guy back on, make sure it snaps in. And it snapped. Awesome. And make sure all this wiring is all the way. And of course your accumulator here, make sure this is tightened right back down. We should be good.